Although there is a new generation of tiki joint that is keeping the flame alive in Detroit, including Lost River over on Mack and Mutiny on Verner, the roots of the tiki bar run deep in the Motor City. They were lavish places to go see and be seen. You could run into sports stars, business people, politicians. Honestly, anything could happen at one of Detroit's many tiki palaces. There's a new book out talking all about it, Detroit Tiki, a history of Polynesian palaces and tropical cocktails. As to today, I'm Jer Stays, and welcome to a fun edition of your Daily Detroit for Wednesday, January 26th, 2022. My guest by phone, the author, Renee Tadey. Welcome to Daily Detroit.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, it's a pleasure to talk to you. Let me tell you, Engineer Randy, behind the scenes, is a huge fan of tiki drinks, and I am myself, but this is a person who literally brings a cooler with him to a party with the ability to make any tiki drink that you would like. And so when I saw this come through my inbox, I knew I had to talk to you. So to get started, how did you find an interest in tiki and especially Detroit tiki? Because there's so many cool images and things if you do a search for this kind of stuff, or if you dive a little bit into Detroit history.
Oh, I've always been a fan of Detroit tiki. It was just sort of always there. Everybody always talked about the Mauna Loa and the Chin Tiki. And then I was approached by the History Press asking if I'd be interested in writing a book about Detroit tiki. So I jumped on it, and there my search started.
What do you think about this time? And I think it's intersection of not just theme, but history of kind of the heyday. And these spots, just when you look at the pictures, when you hear the stories, they were just elegant. I mean, just mind-blowing.
Over the top, totally. Yeah, when you think about it, back the tropics opened in the Hotel Wolverine in 1941, and like their advertisements would read air conditioned, because of course it was 1941. And what they had that was amazing, they had a hydraulic lift bandstand. So leave it to Detroit to have a place that moves people. The whole bandstand would move from the first floor to the second floor to the third floor. Yeah, amazing.
That's a sight to see. The other thing I thought about, not just the air conditioning side, but in a climate like ours, where we are recording this and it is, I believe, 7 degrees outside right now, the idea of going to a warm spot and getting away from things must have been very attractive.
Absolutely. Especially you picture, like when Tiki, 1941, there was a war going on. So anything they could do to get into a place, like you said, not only escaping the weather of a city like Detroit, but everything that's going on in the world.
Well, and so many famous people were entwined with tiki bars, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah. In California, there was a lot of, movie stars all hung out at the places out there. And here, well, I think it was always a draw. So when they decided to build like the Mauna Loa, and the people who worked on the Mauna Loa came from all over the country. They came from California, and they came from Dallas, and they came from, had worked at all these other places and came to Detroit.
And they were kind of stuck in all these interesting buildings. You mentioned the Wolverine. I know that there was one, I think it was Trader Vic's in the old Statler that is now gone,
Yes.
and now apartments. And I did not realize this. There was one in the St. Regis up in the New Center.
It wasn't in there. It was its own building, right there on the boulevard. Yep. It was finished in 1967, but yeah, it was right there on the boulevard. And yeah, the pictures, when you look at the outside of the Mauna Loa, had tiki torches burning. It had palm trees. It had a lagoon. It had waterfalls that would, flow into the lagoon. So, of course, like you said, picture a day like today, you drive down the boulevard and there you see it does not fit in the Michigan landscape, that's for sure.
So I've got to ask you, part of this is the drinks. Do you have a favorite or two tiki drink that you like to go to?
The Painkiller is my favorite, but, I like all of them. And especially the bartenders now, have gone back to the old school, like the drinks were intended to be, because probably like in the 70s, they started using mixes and canned syrups and canned juices, that kind of thing. So the tiki drinks you get today at a place like Lost River or Mutiny are like the original drinks. Everything is fresh and top quality ingredients.
Well, that's important for this whole thing, right? Because I remember when I first got introduced to some of this, and it just felt kind of like cloyingly sweet. And then with this kind of revolution back to vintage, like opening up your mind to not just rum, but there's so many different kinds of rum. That's another thing people don't realize.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, it is. And if you are sitting at the bar at one of these places and have the opportunity to talk to a bartender, it's amazing to hear the history of it. And like you said, all the different kinds of rums and the price points of them. Ooh.
Oh, yeah. I mean, sitting next to me here is a clear Haitian rum that a listener of the show gave me. And it is literally from Haiti. And I do not even want to comprehend how much that bottle was. And thank you for the gift, by the way. And I want to mention the Painkiller really quick. I believe that's a pineapple juice forward drink, right? Because I know listeners are going to hear Painkiller. Some of them are going to be like, oh, I know what that is. But other people, I believe that's a pineapple, orange juice, and a little bit of coconut, right?
A little bit of coconut cream.
Okay.
And some dark rum. And the thing that really sets it off, you have to have a little dash of nutmeg on top.
People miss that for sure. Now, for me, it's all about the Mai Tai. And maybe it's because the one time I went to Hawaii, I just fell in love with it. And so it's simple, but I can't say no to a Mai Tai. For those following at home, and Randy's going to message me I'm doing something wrong, dark rum, light rum, grenadine syrup, orgeat, which is kind of an almond deal, a little bit of orange juice, a little bit of pineapple juice, triple sec, and if you want, you can do the maraschino cherry, some ice, and, get it through that. Anyway, that's how I do it.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. Like I said, really, which ones have you ever had a tiki drink that you didn't like?
This is true. They're a lot of work to put together yourself, but they're definitely worth it. They're definitely worth it. If there's a story in the book, and I don't want to spill all the details because I really encourage people to pick this up and kind of take a look through this part of history, this kind of, blend of theme at mid-century. But if there was a spot of all the places you covered that you wish you could go back in time at its heyday and visit, which one would it be? And I know it's going to be like asking you to pick a favorite child.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that is, it's super hard. I am going to say grudgingly, just because you're forcing me to, I'm going to say the Mauna Loa, only because there are so few photographs of that. It's like mysterious, so I would like to really be there and see the waterfall behind the bar and actually see the maiden dive for pearls in the deep lava pool to go into the Shanghai Lil's bar. I mean, amazing.
And that's the one that I think I see the least pictures of. I mean, I was able to find a few. I think there's like a Library of Congress photo I was able to find and some things like that. But it really did the theme. Whereas like some of the others, when you talk about Trader Vic's, that kind of, were stuffed in there. One for me is the Chin Tiki. And I think it's because it's the one that I first found out about Tiki in Detroit through, because it sat there vacant for so long. And I worked downtown for so long. You couldn't miss that place. And I think it was even in like some music videos and stuff like that, right?
Well, it was in 8 Mile.
That's right.
Yeah, and I think because it was around the longest, from 1966 to 1980, and it was, like people who went to Wayne State would go there, students and, workers in the area. It was, I think people felt more comfortable just, going there. And so there are a lot more photos just because people tended to, go there, like I said, have their birthday there or that kind of thing. Whereas the Mauna Loa, it's still somewhat of a mystery to all of us.
My dad went to Wayne State and kind of lived in the Plum Street art community, and he would tell me about that place. And that's another reason I think why I was enchanted by it. And the other cool thing, and I don't want to spill all the beans, but there are a lot of connections to that place, the Chin Tiki, that are still alive in Metro Detroit.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Manjin Lao, that's still there on 15 Mile Road. That has a connection to Chin Tiki, as does Chin's out in Livonia on Plymouth Road.
If you're somebody who is interested in this kind of time, this part of Detroit history, kind of a fun look at what's happening, I encourage people to check out the book. It is Detroit Tiki, A History of Polynesian Palaces and Tropical Cocktails. Renee Tadey, thank you so much for spending some time with me on Daily Detroit.
Thank you. It was wonderful. You have a great day.
And that's it for today's episode of Your Daily Detroit. Tomorrow, we're planning to have Kurt Metzger in. He's one of the brightest demographics people in the Detroit region. There are a lot of numbers to talk about that we need to discuss for the future of the state and Metro Detroit. But for now, I'm Jer Stays. Thank you so much for listening to Your Daily Detroit. Take care of each other, and I'll see you around town.